Okay, so today I'm so excited. I'm going to have the opportunity to speak with Alissa Abdo. Alicia currently serves on the board of the St. Joseph Fund. She's been with us for almost 5 years, but she's been on the journey with the fund for more than that, for probably 10 years. She's the executive director now of On the Move. And we're going to be reflecting on the journey that she's had as a grantee 10 years ago and now serving on the board and that journey and really what do we learn from that journey from a grantee perspective, from a board member, and how that those gifts and those lived experiences really help strengthen the work of the fund, its governance structure, and the guidance that we get from our board members every day. So it's been 4 years, Alicia. We're getting into year five, and reflecting on the fund itself has evolved, but really for you, share with me or us what's been that journey for you from being, a grantee partner to the fund, as we refer to it, to now board member, especially given the last 4 years. What's been that journey for you?
Hmm. Well, when you all first made your investment in the Parent University program, you took a chance on something that was very much community led. And there was no model program. There was just a group of really committed teachers, administrators, parents who saw there was a need and a gap that needed to be filled. And so, that investment that you all made at that time really gave us confidence and resources to be able to make that dream a reality. And so when I am in the boardroom, I always bring that experience to the table with me and think about how important it is that we make investments in the people who are in local communities, because they really know that what is needed. And I would also say it just deepened my appreciation for how rare it is that philanthropy invites organizational leaders and nonprofits to the table. And speaking of walking the talk, it signals that you're serious about learning, and not just like learning from your grantees, but having them have meaningful contributions and having that be a relationship that's reciprocal. And that underscores how you really are embodying what it means to be partners.
Yeah, reflecting on the charisms of the Sisters of St. Joseph. So, the fund was established, it'll be 40 years next year, by Sister Suzanne Sasses. And really that we set the table. We bring people to the table, or sometimes we're invited to the table, right? And really looking at our Catholic social principles of subsidiarity. I always have a hard time pronouncing that word, but it's really recognizing that we may have all the data on what the issues are in zip code, census tracts, but the community is the one that knows what the solution is or how best to work towards that issue. And I think I'm lucky to have that experience from the beginning with groups such as yours, where when we would do a site visit, they put together the agenda, they always had food, and it was always in Spanish. And we, thank God we're bilingual, but we would always have interpreters. And they owned it, especially the women. I just remember the women saying, I am doing this for my children. I came to this country for more opportunities for my children, and this is my role. And it was just such an amazing experience to, bring a model. We have an initiative here called the Community Building Initiative, and for them to break it down, like how we're going to do this. And I don't know if you remember this, you declined a grant. You declined a grant. And it was kind of like, it's not the right time for us. And we as a funder learned from that experience where you don't have grantees just doing it for the money. It has to make sense. And I don't know if you want to share a bit about why did you make that decision at that time? But I remember I left like, what? What happened? But I remember you shared, we're going through a phase right now, and bringing in this initiative is not the right time. That was huge.
Yeah. we take our commitments very seriously. And while there's a lot of flexibility built into the initiative, there also is real work
Mm,
and participation that is needed. And it also is work that occurs in a cohort capacity. And so unless we were able to fully participate, not just, in our local community and
mm,
with our community itself, but also with the cohort and the fund in the way that I know we do grant making, it
yeah.
felt to me like be we would not be in our integrity. And so, the timing, there was a lot of transitions that were happening in the organization at that time.
Mm,
And so and limited capacity. And so I think, that's one of the things that also really attracted me as we moved into the capacity building funding was this recognition that you might not be ready in that moment, but that doesn't mean that you're not the right grantee partner, but that you need to be able to build the capacity to be able to participate. And so it's something that really spoke deeply to me based on that experience.
yeah, and really reflecting on thinking of you as a board member, but your lived experience in Northern California, leading this organization, because you also work with young adults in the work that you do, and how you being on the board provides so much. I mean, it's just such a gift to have your lived experience, your strategic thinking, and really the board is made up of half is executive leadership
Mm-hmm.
within Providence St. Joseph Health, and half is community leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And really thinking about how do we continue doing that in a way that is genuine, right? If one of my visions for board governance is that we would have residents, community residents on the board, but really developing that pipeline, really thinking, just like we do with our philosophy of being at the table together, how do we do that? And that's going to influence governance. It's not just this is how the bylaws are put together. This
Mm-hmm.
we would have to be open
Mm-hmm.
to thinking about how to do governance differently. I don't know if you have some insights or if you've seen anything in the field around that engagement of community members who have that lived experience that's just as valuable, if not more than an MBA,
Mm-hmm.
of sitting on the board. Have you seen any of that in your work?
I have. There's definitely models in nonprofits
Mm,
where there needs to be a balance between the existing board members. And you and I had a conversation about this upon my entering into the board. And something that I'm really
mhm,
passionate about is not just throwing folks into the deep end. And so that, setting them up so that they can have a meaningful contribution, especially if they haven't had any governance experience in the past.
mhm,
And given the magnitude of the Providence system and what it takes to really understand how our role and our board fit into that larger system, having the opportunity to be partnered with a board member to shadow, to
mhm.
development opportunities, to be able to prep and debrief from board meetings. All of those are really critical in making sure that we make it a meaningful experience for the board and also for that individual.
Yeah, thank you for that. And just reflecting on how the fund has evolved from a more traditional funder with the RFPs and initiatives, and really having you and our board as a whole trust the team, the funds team, to think about how to do this work more genuine, and really when we talk about partnership and trust building in the community, that means that we had to change processes that traditional foundations have.
Mm.
Nothing wrong with that. They're great. But we were at a place with the board, if you remember,
Mm-hmm.
of meeting with the community where they're at, asking, what are your ideas? And then putting a plan together. You know, if you can share a little bit about, from your perspective, both as a board member
Mm-hmm.
and as a leader of a nonprofit, how that has been a shift and how you see that being something helpful, hopefully, and
Mm-hmm.
strategic.
Yeah. I mean, I think if the goals that we have are very specific
Yeah.
and they're focused on equity and ensuring that we have processes that are responsive to the folks who are doing the work. And so, if we get too attached to our proposal formats and our reporting formats and have requirements that an organization might not be able to, or have the existing infrastructure to be able to support, then we lose out on being able to resource grantees who are really going to be the ones that are going to move the needle in their local communities. And so I think for me, as there's been more work out in the field of philanthropy around trust-based philanthropy and what does it mean to be in true authentic partnership, to work with a program officer. We're so lucky our staff reflect the diversity of communities in which we're working. They have worked in the field. They know what it takes to to facilitate that process in an organization. And then that partnership allows for the building of the professionalizing in some ways, but also making sure that we're not requiring things just to require things, that we're requiring things, of course, to make sure that we're responsibly stewarding the funds and making sure that we're in alignment with the mission. But that's what's first. And then we can figure out how to work backwards to get individuals where organizations that might not traditionally get funded in other arenas to be able to access these kind of resources.
And that's so true, because I think something that I wasn't thinking about when we started making this shift, it also became a learning for the fund and its team, not only about the importance of trust, but acknowledging that it's going to look different. Our evaluation frameworks are going to have to adjust. Those logic models, right? We've all done those. The information is still there when we engage in community. It just looks different. It's not as distant or scientific. And I think for the fund, we've had to also recognize that things are going to be slower sometimes, or the community may be more like, let's get it together now, And so we're learning from that experience as well. But I recognize that shift needed to happen. A lot of it, thanks to the board support. You always had questions like, okay, we're not doing an RFP, we're shifting this way. But I'm also very grateful that you were open to having us try it and bring information to the board. I think it's important for the board to still know how the things are happening. We recently had a retreat in Montana, in Missoula, and then we had a chance to go and meet with our grantees, our partners, and heard from them what was important and what impact we were having. They developed the agenda, remember? So it was a very community-led agenda. And I think it was probably one of the most powerful gatherings we've had so far, right?
Yeah, I think when we go into communities, especially where we haven't had a longstanding presence, and we're working with folks who have got, generational trauma, who have been in situations, unfortunately, where systems have harmed them, that we do what we need to do to build trust and not replicate the things that have done harm in a process when we're trying to help. And I think many funding entities are not doing it intentionally, but rather unintentionally. And what I have been so proud about is that, no, we know, and we're clear, this is an intentional strategy. We do take the time. We do rely upon the relationships. We do require reciprocal relationships. We take feedback. We adjust accordingly. All of the things we want to see in our grantees, we model that. And I think that's something, if we want to start to move the needle in some of these long-standing inequities that exist within local communities, we have to be open to being taught by the community itself what is really needed.
No, thank you. It's just perfect. And the other area for the fund has been around capacity building, and really looking at it as a strategy, a tool to achieve that sustainable impact. And we have different examples of how that happens because funding can only take our community so far.
Mhm.
Policy change can only take the community so far. And the philosophy, as you know, that we have at the fund is it's really building that muscle of experience for the community to know they are those change makers.
Mm,
We're there to support them.
mm,
And they are the ones that know exactly what needs to happen. And so it may not be a program that they need funding for, it's capacity building.
mm.
And I just wanted curious from your perspective as a board member, how has that concept of capacity building, given your experience as a nonprofit leader and now on the board, evolved through these years?
Mm. Programs are important, but they don't run without strong organizations.
Yeah.
Investing in leadership development and staff wellness, infrastructure, those are the things that allow nonprofits to sustain longer term impact. And knowing that we are one part of a big puzzle that is going to help to move the needle on these longstanding issues, it's I think, a responsible way for us to invest our funds. And I've seen firsthand as a nonprofit leader, it can multiply the impact of an organization. And it allows them not just to survive that grant cycle, but to be resilient, to be innovative, and sustainable for many years to come.
Yeah.
And in
Yeah.
moments of crisis or uncertainty, that's what carries communities forward.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, many of our communities are facing unprecedented challenges that we would never have anticipated. And I know that those organizations that have received the funds from St. Joseph Fund are going to be stronger and more well positioned to weather this storm. We're watching many organizations struggle right now, either with their organizational leadership or with their funding, contemplating closing their doors, seeing mergers and acquisitions occur. And so it heartens me to know that the organizations that we've invested in have the ability to be able to be there for the long term.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much. And more to come. I mean, we're celebrating our 40th next year. And just want to thank you so much for serving on the board and for your guidance and your wisdom through all these years as a grantee and now as a board member. So thank you so much, Alissa. It's been an honor.
It's been an honor for me too, and helped me to learn and grow in ways that I never anticipated. And yeah, I'm incredibly grateful for you, your leadership, and the incredible staff that we have on the fund.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.